I don't think that the interview went very well for Trump, honestly, because I haven't seen many right-wing fans like glazing it on Twitter, you know? I really do wish that I could show the whole Donald Trump Joe Rogan interview because I listened to a decent bit of it. I skipped around a little bit because it's long and boring. Donald Trump is boring now. He's been boring for a while. It feels like as time has gone on, more and more of the kind of charming idiosyncrasies of his personality have been worn away, probably in large part by age and stress. He's gotten sleepier. He's gotten less. Yeah, he's tired. Yeah, I can't necessarily even blame him for that. He's old and he does a lot of stuff, you know? But also it feels like he's a lot more authentically hateful than he used to be. I think a lot of it is bitterness. He's a megalomaniac and a narcissist, and I'll just throw those terms around as much as I like. You know, you can attack me for misappropriating psychological diagnoses. I don't really care, to be honest. It seems like more and more and more of his speeches are dedicated to promising revenge against the people who have wronged him, you know? So you do eventually get tired of covering that. It does get boring. There were a couple standout parts from the Joe Rogan Donald Trump interview. Why did I take my earbuds out when I was about to put them back in? I don't really know. And it's that, like, okay, Rogan is a moron, obviously, and he does have a largely right-wing base. Even if he wasn't himself right-wing, the fact that he has like a big crypto male, like alt skepticism, conspiracy, martial arts kind of vibe to his content. Like even if he exclusively talked about non-political stuff, he would have a right-wing biased base just based on the like, I can't say non-political topics. It's not like crypto's non-political, but the non-politically like explicit topics, he would have a right-wing bent to it. There were some parts of this. The majority of what I got, honestly, was just that it was boring. But there were some pretty wild parts, like having Trump kind of like juxtaposed against somebody who does feel comfortable, not even holding his feet to the fire, but, oh, you have to play audio to play audio. That's what they're telling me from the control room.
Well, I also
we're dealing with the smartest people.
I can't play much because of DMCA.
You know, when I call President Xi, they said he called President Xi brilliant. Well, he's a brilliant guy. He controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, whether you like it or not. And they go crazy.
Right. Say, it doesn't mean he's not evil, or it doesn't mean he's not
yeah, of course not.
Dangerous.
But actually, we have evil people in our country.
Yes.
If you have a...
It is insane that there's a decent shot that he wins, and he literally cannot stop praising dictators. It's not even just like, oh, they're worthy adversaries. It's like the concept of dictatorship. Like, oh, they're evil. Well, you know what's really evil? People in this country who oppose me. How many threats has he made lately that are to the effect of, I will go after my enemies? Like, he's been doing this in, like, every speech now. Oh, people who talk about the Supreme Court the way they've been should be arrested. Oh, people who talk about me, the enemy within, the enemy within. This news station should be banned. This news station should be banned. I don't think that the interview went very well for Trump, honestly, because I haven't seen many right-wing fans like glazing it on Twitter, you know? It made him 3 hours late to his rally lol. It's a funny bit. I really do hope Kamala Harris goes on Joe Rogan. I feel like she's not, it's going to be a hostile environment. I really hope that she can go. And because like this is one of the few environments where there's actually a chance that you could move people over at the last second, because Joe Rogan's audience is full of undecided voters because they're stupid, you know? She's confirmed that she's not, even though Joe Rogan invited her. That sucks.
I lost by like, I didn't lose, but they say I lost, Joe.
That's stupid. Tim Walz would do a good job, but they're not going to send Walz because, you know, they hate you and they want you dead. They're blaming their scheduling. There is literally nowhere that you could go that would be more effective at the like last hurdle convincing people effort than Joe Rogan's podcast. Scheduling conflicts prevent the sit down. I don't know if I believe that. I don't think that's true at all. Mind you, I don't think Kamala Harris would do well there, but I think that's mostly her fault for being like inauthentic and uncharismatic in a kind of real, like, you know, real talk environment. They're not going to send Walz. The one thing I disagree with you on, Vosh, because she'd be terrible with Joe Rogan, I just said she would do poorly. I mean, the main problem is that it's just an authenticity thing. Bernie Sanders did well. Bernie Sanders did so well on the Joe Rogan experience that he essentially got the endorsement during the primary. She was fine in the Breakfast Club. Yeah, but that's not like a hostile environment. Joe Rogan would be probably pretty hostile to her. And also her like inauthentic, every answer that I have has been rehearsed in committee workshopped bit, that would not go well there at all. At all. If Harris said she would legalize elk meat, it would go super well. That's true. There's always a chance. I can't play this 2-minute clip about Donald Trump talking about tariffs because I feel like that's a little bit closer to the sun than I want to cut it. There's a shorter one here, though. This shit's crazy, man.
Tariffs. It'll
Did
keep
you just
companies...
float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure. But why not? Because ready? Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s.
This is the even race that you have. Which messaging will resonate more with voters? Kamala Harris wants pro-choice, laws established nationally. Donald Trump wants to return our economy to the point known as the Gilded Age in historical circles. So called because there was a thin layer of gold in the upper crust, and no one else, but it wasn't substantial. It didn't penetrate down to the core. Everyone else was dirt poor. We're literally talking about how America was at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. When most people were peasant farmers? No, worse. When most people were when children were getting caught in the gears of industrial looms. Like, that's the period of time we're talking about. And we weren't even a superpower back in the 1880s. That was like a post-Great Depression thing.
A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs.
We're all going to die. Well, on the plus side, replacing all income taxes with tariffs would profit. I mean, I would benefit from it. I don't know about you guys. It'd be pretty ruinous. I mean, it would also destroy the country. You know, it's not possible. It's not going to be done because it's not possible. It would just destroy the country. But the high-quality denim? The high-quality denim is made in Japan, which would be tariffed. Hey, you guys get ready for your new sleeping accommodations. We're going back to tenement houses with sleeping ropes, or the only place you can afford to sleep by hanging on the ropes from your armpits. Get ready. Might want to practice this one at home. Remember, our economy was strongest in the 1880s. Apparently. Looks like it's a great way to stay in shape. Well, people back then were a lot skinnier. I mean, they were eating like boiled leather soup, so... It feels alien to me that 45% of people want this. No, they don't know what they're voting for. They actually, like, policies are irrelevant. This is what liberals don't understand. Policies are irrelevant. Nobody knows what anything means. It's just about vibes. If only we did better with our education system. Well, it's not really the education, it's media exposure. Nobody believes all this insane shit for no reason, you know? People believe this insane shit because they're in a media environment where they're saturated nonstop with propaganda. And the reason that propaganda is saturating them with bad ideas is because it's the benefit of the wealthy people who own the media. It's just class interest. That's all it's ever been. It's not because Americans are dumb. It's not because our education system failed us. It's not because we're uniquely such and such. It's literally just our media is owned by a couple of people and they're evil and they hate you and want you dead, so they'll lie to you. That's it. There are people who still believe Harris will win. Harris might still win. I don't think it's guaranteed that Trump will win. The problem is that the underlying factors that led to it being a close race, despite Trump advocating for this and Kamala Harris advocating for, like, well, genocide in Gaza, but also pro-choice policies, that underlying issue will remain. The fact that wealthy people own all the media and therefore disseminate their propaganda, the fact that, like, the prevailing ideology is the ideology of the bourgeoisie, that continues whether or not Kamala Harris wins. And it takes real revolutionary socialist thought to disassemble that control. And Kamala Harris is not up for the job. I doubt there's a problem liberals can even see. Liberals often erroneously blame this on like hicks, rednecks, men, white people. Oh, the American education system, such and such. It's all just class interest. Everything else is downstream of that. You don't? Men disproportionately vote right wing, but that's a second order issue. Men are lied to. Men are just an easier target for certain kinds of propaganda because there's historical precedent to targeting men with fears of women losing their way and of their entitlements not being provided to them. They're more insecure. They're easier to target with that propaganda. Oh, now you finally say it? Nuts. It's worth criticizing at like a forward level, but at a back end, like it all comes down to class interest. It's always wealth. Being a man gives you power over women in the sense that, you know, you're physically stronger in a literal sense, and in a social sense, you can talk over to them and call them bitchy when you would be called like commanding for the same thing. But being wealthy gives you the power to move armies and nations. You know, I am not physically stronger, lol. Okay, well, maybe you're not. I am. I mean, yeah, everything is downstream of that, but social tendencies exist within and without class, unless you think Marx was right that everything is class. It's not that everything is class, it's that it's the higher order problem. This is a component of intersectional theory. Like, just because you think that issues pertaining to class, race, gender intersect, class is the issue. There is no other demographic, like, tendency or demographic bias or power that gives you the power that being a billionaire gives you, you know? Like, that is, like, the ultimate prevailing authority. It doesn't mean the other issues aren't important. I'm not a class reductionist. But, like, it's obviously the top dog when it comes to the weave of intersectional problems. A little bit too simple of analysis, Vosh, like you said earlier. Yeah, everything could be traced back to capitalism, but it's also more than that why white men are more likely to vote right-wing. Yeah, but white men are more likely to vote right-wing because also, like, downstream of capital interests. The same way that historically, like, the threat of immigrants has been framed in the context of them stealing jobs to prevent, like, worker solidarity, you know? It almost always stems from capital at a fundamental level. They are the people who rule. Men don't rule society, like, at a highest order, right? Obviously, men are the ones in the larger number of positions of power. But, like, a poor man does not have more power than a billionaire woman. There's just no overcoming class, you know? This is a component of capitalism. It didn't used to be like this. Back under, say, feudalism, it didn't matter how much money you had. If you were a wealthy merchant, you did not have the power of people raised to peerage. You weren't a nobleman. You weren't a king. We don't have kings anymore, you know? Except we do, apparently. We have oligarchs. So basically, racism and sexism stem from capitalism? No. Racism and sexism predate capitalism by, like, infinity years, basically. Capitalism is the overriding economic paradigm, the hegemon. And so, since that is the fundamental base of power, all other bigotries stem from it and are reinforced from it. But, like, before capitalism, feudalism did the same thing, you know? Theocracy, so on and so forth, however far back you want to go. Capital uses pre-existing discrimination to further its goals? Yes. Anyway, the moral of the story is that wealthy people are evil. Don't get it twisted.